I'm Jen Pazour. I'm an associate professor of industrial and systems engineering at RPI, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in upstate New York. I've been a member of Informs since 2007, so my first Informs was actually in Seattle 13 years ago. So I'm excited about some research I'm looking at in terms of matching supply and demand, which is an old problem we've all been know about, but I'm interested in when the supply is an agent and we can't dictate to them to participate. And so examples of this could be in crowdsourced logistics, but also in like volunteer management. And so I'm interested in providing choices to these suppliers to see if they can participate more fully if I give them a menu of options, but then that has consequences. And so how do you deal with that in these situations where supply is decentralized? And I learned about a field of computer science that is similar to some of the research I'm doing in that they're interested when you see maybe a menu for a hotel when you want to pick it, is if you and I both see that same one, we don't want to both choose and then there's none left. And I didn't know that field existed, but I learned about that yesterday in a really interesting session. So now is an exciting time to be an OR because there's so much data available to us. And so that's exciting because now we have data to populate our models. But that also, I think, brings its own challenges because it's exciting to lots and lots of people and lots of fields, which is great. But I think we have to think about how do we distinguish ourselves from all the other types of fields and people working in this area. And I really believe OR has a unique place to play in that. But making sure our voice is heard when people are talking about AI, ML at universities or businesses, are they thinking about OR? And I think that's an important thing to think about for our field. So I'll admit I would like to answer this in three ways. I mean, the first is I think this is a field where we think about using analytical methods to make better decisions. That's a field that's exciting and is exciting for lots and lots of people. And so I think it's an exciting field. I also think representation matters. So as me being a woman in OR, if that is encouraging other people to get into that field, I think that's fantastic. But I also think by the way that we have to still ask these questions means we're not there yet. So I am excited about the diversity initiatives that are happening at Informs. But I think it's important to recognize that people that are underrepresented in this field are tasked with more work and effort. And I think that's just to say that we have a long way to go. I think we're doing exciting things, but there's more to be done. I think one thing is awareness, is just making aware that this is an exciting field open to everybody, and I think lots of people would be excited. But I don't think that's enough. I just met with some underrepresented students at my university, and they talked about not always feeling like they could see themselves doing that if they didn't have, representation in the field. And so representation is important, but I don't know that that's enough either, because once you arrive, you need to feel that you're included and that you belong. And so that's a little bit harder, but I think just going to welcoming and making sure everyone's contributions are heard and acknowledged, it goes a long ways. That's awesome, and you should keep doing that and embrace that. And the other thing I would say specifically to young girls is when I look at my class, the distribution of girls in my class is not uniform. Instead, usually they're at the top of the class. And I think the reason for this is my hypothesis, is that engineering is hard for everyone. But there's an extra kind of step that we have to prove ourselves if you aren't kind of the traditional view. And so what happens is, I think women, people of color, they may say, okay, I'm not sure. And because they don't see anyone else, they leave. The ones that are left are the really high achieving, really, really top students. And that's fantastic. I'm glad that the girls are doing really well in my class. That's fantastic. But I think we're missing an opportunity on a student that graduates with a B or C average is still an engineer, and they go off and do wonderful things. And I think we're missing some of those students that leave too quickly because everyone was challenged, but they were like, I got a B or a C on a test, I need to change majors. Those are the ones that I actually think we need to be focusing on and encouraging to stay. So I'm always looking for hard, challenging, impactful problems that then we can apply this amazing, really versatile skill set of OR to. And so how I do that is I'm really interested in learning about different fields. So I attend conferences like Informs to learn about what other people are doing in quite different areas than my own, but I also follow a lot of business trends. I'm on Twitter and understanding just what are interesting, hard, challenging problems that exist in the world, and then thinking about how can we model them. And so I think we have a lot of really good tools. I'm then out looking for good problems that we can use these tools for. It's been great in terms of networking and understanding how I fit in kind of the bigger world of our field. And so what I mean by that is when I first started, I would go and I'd understand what other people are doing, what are kind of the possibilities of this field and how it can be applied to different problems. And then as I've grown in my career, I find that then I have the ability to showcase what my team is doing at that scale, but also just meeting people and understanding how they're going through the world, how they're applying their research, how they're teaching their classes. It really provides that medium and that connection to be able to do that. One thing that would surprise, I think, a lot of people is I almost didn't go to graduate school. I applied, I think, after the deadline to one school, and what I would say to that is that I had a really involved faculty member in my undergrad, and they kept saying, Jen, you really need to think about going to grad school. And I was like, many of my students now, just like, yeah, whatever. And so if you would have asked me at 18 that I would be a faculty somewhere at this stage, I would have, truly laughed at you. I don't think that was ever in the cards, and I'm really glad that that person pushed me because I feel I have a fantastic gig, a fantastic job. But it was not something I thought about doing, and just kind of truly happened into graduate school. What would I be doing? That's a great question. I think I would be teaching. One of the best parts of my job is teaching, and I would say that broadly in the classroom. I love working in the classroom with undergrads and graduate students, but also mentoring them one-on-one. And so I think if I wasn't doing this, I would probably be a high school teacher. I think I would pick flying, and the reason is I'm a big fan of efficiency. I love just being efficient. And so when I think about airports, I think about standing in line, waiting, and I'm on somebody else's time, which I understand, but it would be wonderful to be able to fly point to point and not have to deal with lines in airports. Happy optimal. I'm kind of go through life pretty happy-go-lucky, but I think it's really important to think about decisions and the choices we make influence that. And so I think we should always strive to make good decisions, the optimal part, but be happy with what those are and what comes from them.